Good everyone at Organized Video, and today we have a review on the Rogo. This is a tank that I've gotten recently because of war bonds, and I wanted to get this review out as soon as I could because I know a lot of people are interested in Landship tanks, and yeah, this one actually surprised me, and that's putting that lightly. So the Rogo is a Japanese rank 1 1.3 BR heavy tank, and this is a bit of a special tank, but at the same time, it's a tank that not many people respect, and you don't really tend to see a lot of them. There's a good reason for that, but I still had a lot of fun with this tank. So the Rogo has two guns, which are your primary weapons. You technically have three, which is your machine gun in the back, but I never used that. I only really used it to like, if someone's crashing into the back of me, I basically use it to say, back off a bit, I need to turn this thing. And that's sort of the mindset that I needed to do, and I'm sort of glad I did that because that rear machine gunner in the back, he's a good bullet sponge, and he's also very useful at replacing crew members. So let's get into detail about the cannons on this vehicle, because obviously we have two cannons to go over today. Let's go into the modifications and let's go over this quickly. So the 37mm is the same as the Hangar. Not great at 34mm of penetration at 10 meters. It's unlikely you're going to be getting many kills with this 37mm. It is possible to do it, and given the muzzle velocity of 575 meters per second, this is more of my long range engagement gun. If I need to engage a light target at longer ranges, such as an A13 or something like a T26, chances are I'm going to use this gun to do it. And it can penetrate a T26 up to 20 or 1000 meters. So you'll be able to engage a T26 comfortably or a BT tank up to around that distance. Now the only exception to that is the BT7, where I would only recommend engaging those with this 37mm at 500 meters. Then we move into the 70mm gun. I don't believe there's another tank in the game with this caliber of weapon, but it's still interesting to behold anyway. Now we do have an APHG round, however it sucks. I've tried to get a kill with it. It is practically impossible unless it is a half track, so never carry this. Same with the HE, there is zero purpose to the HE. It's all about the Type 3 heat. Now it does have 200 meters a second, which as you're going to see in this battle is very hard to aim for the most part, but once you grow accustomed to it, and if you keep this tank in close range, it really does kick some ass, and I have to admit the damage output of the 70mm is really good. Now, of course, we need to go over the armor. Now, being a heavy tank, you would expect maybe 45 to 50mm of armor for this BR. Yeah, I'm afraid not. The Rogo wasn't exactly designed with that sort of purpose. Its thickest armor is 35mm. Now, this isn't the strongest at this BR, but it's certainly good enough. It can stop the majority of shells that we'll encounter of the lower tiered weapons, but as you get up in the tiers, there's going to be a lot more weapons that can easily penetrate this armor, even if you angle like this, because they can either shoot here, or they can just shoot up here. Now, of course, you might have people who panic fire and hit just here, which will be a pretty much auto bounce for the majority of guns that you'll encounter, but don't rely on it. Another tactic I tended to employ was I tended to use the 37mm turret as bait. I'd position the tank like this, coming around a corner, so they can't shoot the driver and they can only hit the 37mm. So then they'll hit the 37, take out the single gunner in there, because there's only one. I'll show you the crew in a moment. And this turret will be temporarily out of commission. But then you can smack them with the 70mm, which can easily penetrate the majority of targets that you're going to see at this BR. So, side armor, 30mm thick on the sides. There's a 25mm plate on the rear, and there's also a 13mm plate just behind the engine deck. The turret on the back is 15mm frontally with a couple of extra layers. There is 14mm plates here as well, and the sides are 25 with the roof of it being 13. the roof of the engine deck being 13, and the top of the 17mm turret being 8. Same with the 37mm turret. In terms of your engine, which I'll do before we go over the crew, we're powered by a 290 horsepower engine. With this tank weighing 25.5 tons, yeah, you don't get a great power to weight, and that also shows in your top speed, because this vehicle is not very fast. As we can tell by the transmission, the max speed forward is 14.3 miles per hour, and the reverse speed is 4 miles an hour, which for the battle rating, 4 miles an hour is actually pretty alright. So the crew positioning, we obviously have the machine gunner in the back, who is practically useless. We have a single 37mm gunner here, who is the gunner and the loader of this weapon. We have the driver as per usual. We have the commander positioned here, the loader positioned here, and the gunner of the 70mm position here. To be arguably honest, I would say the 37mm turret has better armor, because as you can tell, there is parts that overlap on the 37mm. My English slipped there, didn't it? Jesus. 37mm turret, and obviously it's got 30mm all across here, with 25 being on the side like that. And on the 70mm, you do have that, but because it's a bigger turret, it's easier to hit the side of it. As you can tell here, it's not as easy to hit the side of the 37, where you could possibly overmatch if you don't want to shoot this frontal part. But with the 70mm turret, it's quite simple. So this tank costs, I believe, 1,360 golden eagles. Do I think it's worth that price? Personally, no. I would highly suggest getting this tank in war bonds if you are interested in this vehicle. Whilst it is a barrel of laughs, or should I say barrels of laughs, I wouldn't put it as a priority of paying golden eagles for it. And subsequently, I think there's better landships out there, but this certainly should not be ignored as a tank. I had a lot of fun playing this thing. So, let's get into the battle and let's take a look at what I got up to in this tank. This was one of the better matches I had in the tank, and I have to admit, I'd love to know how I survived it, but even so, some of us get lucky, and clearly I had luck on my side in this battle. Now, it is a 22-minute battle, but don't worry, most of that is driving at 14 miles an hour, so I will not spare you, well, I'll not give you the grey hairs, because trust me, you're going to get a lot of them. And I mean that. This battle felt like it took half an hour. So we're spawned in the Rogo, and immediately, as you can tell, the tank is at full speed, and these teams are just being silly and stuff like that. We've got this guy who's just randomly shooting me up the arse, so I brake check him. And these teammates to my left are about as useful as tits on a fish. So I move up into my combat position, and as you can tell, I've not got much support. I've got a couple of Japanese light tanks, I've got an L333, and it's pretty much down to me to hold this flank. And it's gonna get wild, let's put it that way. So on the corner, I see this A13, I'm just gonna close this part here so you can see. A very unlucky heat penetration there, which didn't actually kill the gunner. He takes out the gunner and the loader of my vehicle. And I'm backing up to try and force them to come to me, which was the plan. The L3 uses me as cover. He takes out my 37mm turret, but I take him out with the 70mm for kill number 1. The L333 starts firing on the T26, my 37mm turret comes back into action, and very shortly goes out because the T26 shoots that turret, and that's my second kill. However, my teammate in the L3 did not know of the A13, and I rushed my shot. I only hit the track and the loader of the A13. Being down to 2 crew is where I really have to be careful about what I do next. So I pushed forward, and I think I was trying to aim for the engine, but I aimed it just a little bit too low. But as you can tell, I look to my left and I see two D2 French medium tanks coming towards me. Naturally, I thought I was done here. There's no way I'm surviving this, but luck was on my side today. Well, sort of. That was kind of my bad aim, I'll be brutally honest. So these two are in a squad. They were trying to communicate as best they could. He ricochets off the side of the turret. I kill one of them for my third kill. I'm on the reload, he hits the track, and I'm thinking, where can I shoot him? And I hit just the luckiest part on his driver's hatch, getting me my fourth kill. Yeah, this thing can take a beating, and I'm going to utilise the 37mm turret here, which the A13 does fall for it eventually. He thinks that turret's active, which it isn't. That turret is not active. It takes a couple of attempts with the old pull forward and pull back method that I use from Board of Tanks, because I actually learned that method from that. And there we go. Heat ran straight for the front for kill number 5. But obviously this thing has took an absolute pounding. This thing has got more holes than Swiss cheese. And I'm wanting to pull back, go to the B point to get a new crew member, fix all the turrets, and yeah, this is certainly a battle which I will remember for quite some time. This was certainly a lot of fun, and it was also a lot of hair raising. Speaking of hair raising, I'm going to make sure the older gentlemen of my audience do not get an aneurysm. Looks like the replay's about to crash, so I don't want to put it to 16 times speed. I can't put it at 16, otherwise the replay will probably crash. So I can only apologise for that. But skipping ahead a few minutes, as you can tell there's quite a lot of carnage going on. This Swedish tank goes to our capture circle and starts trying to cap. And there's the muzzle velocity. But I take out his engine. I think he knew he was screwed here. I aim just a little bit higher and plonk the heat round right in his face for kill number 6. I move into the cap circle and I get my first capture of this match, and I also get my 37mm turret back in action. Because I've already done the repairs, I skipped the repairs that I did earlier. That's why I pulled up in the position that I did down near our spawn, so I could fix the vehicle. But as you can tell, there is a couple of, well, there is a spawn camper currently rushing our spawn at the moment, but he's about to get taken out very shortly, and I'm soon to get my first cap. And any second now, he's about to die, and I get my first cap. As you can imagine, it's more skip ahead, because it takes a good few minutes to get back in the fight. I actually hit that guy with the 37 there. That's what gets me an assist. That's also a little piece of advice from me, is if you can, use the 37mm turret to deter aircraft. One thing I've noticed is that planes tend to shit themselves when they see a 37mm AP round flying at their face, so it's pretty handy to have the ability to just fight back to some extent. But this is where it gets funny. I start trying to range find with the 70mm, but then I thought, the 37's going to cut it at this range. Kill number 7. And as you saw there, the muzzle velocity of the 37 was much easier to aim. And that is one thing you can use to your advantage. And I tended to use that quite a bit. Purely on the basis that, well, let's be real. I'm not going to hit that guy with my first shot. I kind of need to get him dead. And subsequently, I wanted him gone as soon as possible, so I used the 37 accordingly. And here I try to play as an SPAA. I mean, you can, but let's put it this way. You don't have the greatest gun elevation in either turret. And people like him seem to think a 20mm is going to punch through the side. Not the Hispano. From the top it would, but he hits the 30mm plate, so that didn't really do anything for him. We're now moving up to the enemy's spawn and the enemy's cap. Subsequently, I've got to be a bit more alert. Just because I have the thickest armor on the team right now, I mean, technically no, for turret protection, but for hull protection I pretty much do. I mean, you could count the M1441 as driver's hatch, I suppose, but no one really pays attention to that. First heat round on the S35, which hits the track. I start reversing. He does hit where he wanted to hit, but his gun's got that poor shrapnel, he only wounds the driver. Kill number 8. And what I planned to do here, I was going to wait for my team to back me up. I've only got an M1340 and an M1441 left to back me up, but I'd rather wait for backup before I go in, because I don't know what's left. As it turned out, there was just an M13 for the time being, but never hurts to be cautious. So after a couple of minutes, which I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit here, after a couple of minutes of me getting strafed, me listening to the M13, and me trying to play as an SPAA, my backup eventually arrives. And yes, that guy did try to bomb me, which he missed. So as you can tell, my backup has arrived. The M1340 Series 1 has arrived to back me up. I used the 37mm to take out the engine of the M13. And as you can tell, he's very annoying with those 50 cals. But he pretty much cannot scratch me at this range with those. Sure, you might get a lucky shot in one of the turrets, I suppose, but that's not going to do anything. Kill number 9, and that's the last kill for me. And that is pretty much that. The battle continues for another couple of minutes till we cap out, and I get an assist on the Swordfish thanks to the 37mm. So like I say, I think this is a very fun tank. I just wouldn't buy it, so to speak. I'd wait till it comes up in war bonds like I did. I had a lot of fun with this tank, and it really got me into landships, I'll be brutally honest. So in the future, do expect to see some landships, because I'm going to get all of them. The SMK, the T35, the Independent, and the Nabafazoig, or however you say it. And I'm going to be reviewing all of them eventually, so look forward to those. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Rogo, and I'll catch you all on the next one.